and also not forgetting anything. I wrote them down and I'm gonna try to follow the steps as I go. Or I broke them down into 3 steps. It would be understand the kind of makeup look you want, understand the tools and techniques you need to know, and then your skincare. We'll start with the first one, which is understand the kind of makeup look you want. That means if you want a matte look, understand that you want a matte look. If you want glowy, you want glowy. If you want, glam or natural, you know, you need to understand that before you start the makeup, or else you can't use the right techniques or the right products. Products are meant for certain things, different foundations, different concealers, different blushes. So if you understand what kind of makeup look you want, then it makes it a lot easier. Going along with that, concerns you want to avoid slash take care of. For me personally, I have pretty red skin that is, bumpy. It has acne scars, so that's one of my makeup concerns that I try to cover up with makeup. But someone else might want, like someone older than me might want to cover their fine lines. So if you understand what you want to cover up, then you can also apply the techniques. And then the last part of that would be understanding your undertone and your color palette. And I know that might sound confusing, and a lot of people don't understand that. For me, I think I have a neutral to cool undertone, which means neutral to cool colors work for me. That's especially important when you're trying to match your foundation. Um, in my head, there's actually four. There's warm tone, there's cool tone, there's neutral, and then there's olive. Olive leans towards green. I might be an olive, but I haven't figured it out. And that's the whole thing about makeup. You kind of have to work to figure out, what works for you, what doesn't. But if you don't understand what, cool, warm, neutral means, so a warm color, let's do this one. It's going to pull very yellow orange on me, and sometimes that's what you want, especially if you're doing a creative look. My skin tone, see, that's a lot more fitting. I know they're not the same color, I understand that, but this undertone is not as warm as this one, even if they're both, browns. See, that one leans a lot more yellow-y ready compared to this one. And again, I know they're different shades, but that's just an example. But yeah, those are the things I would think about before you even think about makeup or tools or, you know, whatever you want to start. So the kind of makeup you want to focus on, the kind of look you want, the color palette and your undertone, as well as your makeup concerns and the things you want to either take care of or enhance. The second thing was tools and techniques. Now, I'm not saying that you need anything expensive. I don't have anything expensive. I get most of my brushes from either like TJ Maxx, heavily discounted, or I get them from Shein because they have very big packs of decent quality brushes for very cheap. Um, Again, you don't need anything expensive. You can get sponges and powder puffs from TJ Maxx, heavily discounted and stuff. Um, but the important thing is to make sure that they're nice enough quality to where it won't mess up your makeup. And also, you have to make sure that you're using the right brush for the right things. And by that, I have two examples for like foundation brushes. This is the e.l.f. Dome Stipple. A lot of people think that this is a good foundation brush. It's not. And I'll show you why. You see how it doesn't go all the way down into the bristles and it's only on the ends? A lot of people say you need to, pat it in, dab it in. Do you see how like bumpy and stipply it is? Also, it is my shade, it's just mixing with the blush. So if you use, a stipple brush for your foundation, it's not going to look good. Then, you use, this is the Morphe M101 complexion brush. I got this from TJ Maxx. This one has more like compact. It's a lot rounder and more compact, so that you can buff in foundation or the concealer or whatever you want to use it for. And if you have good enough tools, you can use the same tool for multiple things. And that's why a lot of people like makeup sponges, because you use it for gradation and concealer and blush and contour and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, again, if it's the right tool for the right kind of consistency, like you can use a similar brush for like foundation and concealer. You can use a similar brush for like your powder, bronzer, and contour and blush. The same with, you know, liquid contour, bronzer, and blush. Again, it just matters on the quality and also like the form of the brush. And then the third one was your skincare. And skincare I put before your makeup just because you want to not only protect your skin but also enhance the makeup. So you need to understand if you're oily, if you're normal, if you're dry, if you're a combination, if you have more mature skin, if you have more rosacea skin, more textured skin, things like that you need to understand. And also, I know not everyone's going to understand or know what products irritate their skin, but through trial and error, you'll figure it out. And there are some products that are not good in like beauty products, especially like fragrance. It can be very irritating to sensitive skin. Understand that some products don't work well together. There's certain acids you probably shouldn't put together, and that goes for like, you know, skincare with skincare, skincare with makeup, makeup with makeup. You have to understand there are some products that work well together and some that don't. Personally, I wouldn't try to put too many products on before your makeup just because it can be really irritating and heavy and clog your pores, but it also could make your makeup slip off, and that's not what we want. We want it to stay. Now that you have all that, I'm going to go into step by step of what I personally do. I have rosacea and textured skin, um, and my skin ranges from dry to kind of combination. First, skincare. For me personally, I since I'm dry, I try to go for something that's more hydrating. This is the e.l.f. Thirst Burst Drops. I try to use this under my makeup. So another really important thing with your skin prep is that you want to let it soak in. You don't want to just put layers and layers of skincare and makeup over each other without letting them at least settle a little bit. This goes for more of um your skincare rather than like your other makeup steps. This is the e.l.f. Woe Glow Broad Spectrum SPF 30 Sunscreen, the Suntouchable, and this is in Sunbeam. This is the stuff that Shelby Ann uses. So now that this is set for a little bit, probably should sit for a little longer, but you go on. With this one, you don't need as much. You don't want to, pack it on thick. Put it on, rub it in, and that's normally what I do for skincare. I know it seems very little compared to some others, but it works for me. As we let that sit in, I want to talk about your base. I understand that sometimes bases can be confusing and very frustrating, but that for me, it was because I didn't understand that some foundations and concealers are silicone based and some are water based. For example, one of my favorites is the House Labs Triclone Foundation and Concealer, and these are water based. But I have the Superstay 24-hour skin tint, and this is silicone based. So theoretically, or not theoretically, I've tried this before. If I use the House Labs with the Maybelline, they will separate. They don't go well together. It doesn't work. And because one's water based and one's silicone based, you can figure that out by just searching it up. But I think the best advice someone has given me is that most brands will make a concealer and foundation duo, and that they are made to work together. So if you buy them together, they'll work together. That makes sense. So if you're mix matching it, it can be like they can still work. It just might not be as easy because they weren't formulated to go together. That's why I have these. But then I also have the L'Oreal True Match, and these go together. Put like a pump on the back of your hand. Don't put it on your face because then it can be heavier in some other places, and also it's a mess. You don't want to put too much in place, or you don't want to put too much on your face and not be able to take it off. If that makes sense. So I'm gonna show you what I'm doing here. So I'm taking this Morphe M101 brush, and with the bigger side, this has a concealer side too. You just want to buff it in. You want to, one of my favorite creators say this, prime the brush. So you want to buff it and make sure that the brush is filled with the product. See, okay, it's not really on the back of my hand anymore, it's in the brush. And you want to start in the areas where you want most coverage. So for me, it's my cheeks. And also with your foundation, you want to avoid your under eyes because you don't want like a lot of product on your under eyes, just because if you're going to put concealer there, it's going to be very heavy. It can crease very easily. Normally I go heavier than this, but today I'm going to just try to keep it light. And so that was the L'Oreal True Match in C1 Cool Light. And mind you, skin is not supposed to be perfect. There's going to be imperfections and whatnot. I don't know if you can see. That's what it looks like with that little layer of foundation. We're going to do the bronze Stix in Moonstone Beige. This is the MAANGE Foundation Brush 22. So with bronzer, which is a warm tone, you want to keep it on the high points where you would naturally get like a sunburn or like a tan. You don't get tans right here. You're gonna look muddy. Put it there. So you want to start up here. And I put it up here on my forehead so I have some color. That's all the bronzer I'm gonna do. I'm pale. I don't want to look like a Oompa Loompa. Then I'm gonna just take a sponge and just gently dab it to make sure that everything's blended in. Then I'm gonna do the blush. This is the Dibs blush stick in Starlit blush bronzer stick. And then we're gonna go in with the MAANGE 51474. And also with blush placement, it can depend on the shape of your face, what look you want. I'm gonna try to keep it high. I try to keep it on my cheeks and on my nose. You want to blend it in with your bronzer. Keep it on the apples of your cheeks if you want. Some people like to drag it down here and you know how like kind of like that medieval painting or Renaissance painting look. That's cool. Some people like to drag it across their face like this. I like to just do a little bit on my nose so then nothing looks a little left out. And now comes concealer. The scariest part, in my opinion, because this could really go south. This is the L'Oreal True Match Serum Concealer in one light pale. See? Nice and primed. I don't know if you can see it. If you can't, I'm sorry. And with this one, I would say go one eye at a time because I'm going to set mine. So that means, put this down and get your powder ready. Powder is also really important. Some powders are really not good. My current favorite is the L'Oreal Paris Infallible Blurfection. I had this in, it's like a light pink color. And light pink is normally used for brightening. I just use this all over my face because I'm rather pale and it works. So you want to put it in there and have it ready. I'm going to do one eye at a time. That works best for me so that I don't have to worry about creasing later. I also like to have a sponge ready. I like to blend out mine with a sponge. And if you want, you can put it on top of your eyelids so then, it matches and you can't see your veins. Get your sponge and you pat it in. Look up, get everything blended. See? Okay. And as you're looking up, if you can try, you want to get your powder puff. You want to dab it in the powder. You see how it's kind of not even? Hopefully you can. I can't see the screen. You want to dab it out and distribute it evenly on the powder puff. You see how it's a lot more even now? Okay. Now look back up. Blend, 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 blend. Hopefully my eyes don't do the weird thing. And then you want to set. And the reason why you want to look up while you're setting your under eyes is because you don't want to set the creases. So if you're looking up, your eyes aren't creasing. And that doesn't mean like the natural creases of your under eyes. Sometimes powder or concealer makes more, you know, um, creases in your eyes. This is where I personally would douse myself in a little bit of setting spray. This is the Milani Make It Last Original Natural Finish Setting Spray. And this kind of helps all the products melt together before you set the rest of your face. We're going to do another mist later on. I'm not going to do eyeshadow today, but if you want another tutorial on how I personally would approach eyeshadow, I'm not good at it, but I have different ways I like to approach it. I can, but we're just going to do like the base and um, how like eyebrows and eyes and lips. So we're going to do powder, blush, and bronzer. But I'm personally just going to set my face lightly with more pink powder. You don't have to do this, but I like to personally just because um, I'm very nervous about my stuff anyway. So I use like a more fluffy brush and I, again, you prime it, you tap off the excess, go in, go a little dusty dust. And I'm saying very lightly because you're going to be setting the blush and bronzer with the powder blush and bronzer. So you don't need much simply because it can cause a lot more texture. But so far, this is how we're looking. I understand that you still see some of my acne scars and stuff. You can spot conceal, like before you ever put on your foundation. You can always put this on under it. With this one's very fast drying, so I would say put it on and then blend it. But then you let it set, and then you put your foundation on. So then it doesn't let it peek through. But I don't really care. With powder, bronzer, and blush, it can be very scary simply because there are some that are so damn pigmented that it's a bit terrifying. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzer. I got the shade Light. You put some on the brush, you tap it off, and then you go right over the same places you put the um the liquid or the cream bronzer. So it's this kind of like a revamping it. If you want, I normally like doing this just to kind of not make my under eyes so aggressively bright. This is the MAANGE contouring brush, but I use it as a blush brush. I like it more as a blush brush. So I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Primer Infused blush base in Always Rosy. I like these because it's very. I'm not saying they're not pigmented, but it's not as aggressive. Um, so yeah, prime the brush. See, you tap in a few times and it's not like in your face. I have the Buttermelt blushes from NYX, and those are very powerful. So you put it where you put the cream liquid blush. Anyways, now that we have all that set in, I'm going to go in with the second and the final spray of the Milani um, to melt that all your powders in now. And while you do that, you're going to get ready to do your eyes, your eyebrows, your lashes, and your lips. Actually, I'm going to do this before my lashes just because it sometimes can make them stick together and I don't want to do that, especially with mascara on. So close your eyes and your mouth. Don't breathe this in because this is literally like hairspray for your face. So I'm gonna start from top down. I'm gonna start with my eyebrows, and we'll do my eyes, and then we'll do my lips. That's always kind of how I do it. This is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil in shade 5. What I normally do is I kind of brush them and go along with the natural curve of my eyebrow. Mind you, this is my favorite eyebrow. This one fucking sucks. What I normally do with my eyebrows is I kind of do a line on the bottom. Nothing too harsh. I have mine tinted too, so keep that in mind. I kind of do a little line on the bottom, following the shape, but I don't go all the way to the front. See, I only went like right there. Then I do little strokes up. And mind you, it doesn't have to be perfect because then you can go back in with your spoolie in a minute, brush it through. See? My eyebrow looks so good today. Oh my god. And then at the front, I would say do very tiny, tiny, tiny strokes. Just because you don't want it to be like Sharpie brow. I know this might look like a Sharpie brow, but in person it doesn't look as harsh. Curl thy lashes. I don't know how to properly curl lashes. I'm just curling them how I normally do it. If I'm being so dead serious. And then you want to get whatever mascara you're using. I'm using the e.l.f. Lash and Roll in the shade Deep Brown. I like brown mascara if I want a more natural look. I have very little lashes, so that's layer one. You can do multiple layers of the same mascara, or you could be like me and get a different one. This is the Maybelline New York Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara in, is it True Brown? Yep, True Brown. You layer it. For my waterline, I'm going to use the new e.l.f. Smoky Kohl eyeliner in the shade Beige Flag. And to do your waterline, I don't like when people just go up in there. That's terrifying for me. So I pull my eyelid down a little bit and then go in. Now you can go in and do your bottom lashes if you so please. Using NYX Micro Brow Pencil, Ash Brown. And with these, I just do a little twirl. You see that? Last step, your lips. With lip liner, it can be very tricky because some people have double line lips like me. You see how the color kind of ends before the actual curve of my lips, especially on like the side. That's the edge of my actual lip, and then that's like the color. For me, I'm gonna just show you because it's very hard to explain. So I follow the natural bottom of my lip because those actually match up. And then personally, I just kind of go with the shape. It seems a bit weird because you can still see the little thing, but it looks better than extremely overlining that. I don't draw over my Cupid's bow because I think that looks a little silly. That's why I line my lips. This is the e.l.f. Cream Glide Lip Liner in Pinky Swear. Then I'm going in with the Morphe Drip Glass Drenched like lip gloss in the shade Wet Peach. So that's my makeup, um and what I kind of think about when I started makeup and how I do it now. I do more creative looks on my TikTok if you're ever curious. That's the makeup. And again, this makeup is trial and error. It, it takes time to learn what works for you. My hair is sticking straight out. What works for you and what um looks best on you. But again, makeup is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be personalized. Not everything that works for me will work for you, but this is just kind of a way for me to try and help you. Please feel free to follow me on TikTok, on Instagram, subscribe here on YouTube. I do fun looks on my TikTok more often, but I want to do more long form YouTube videos. So if you ever want me to do another video like this, please comment what you would like to see. And I hope this helped you, and I hope this kind of gave you some insight. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.